What did you do to that goblin? It's just physical touch love language. But he's dead.
He's a little man. Can't handle a lot of love. You take 46. Whoa.
What do I take?
What?
Oh, jeez. Okay. We're doing this again.
Oh, right in the middle of combat. Right in the middle of combat.
What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I was just rolling damage on your wife.
Your what?
Yeah, she just took 46 damage.
What do you mean? She took 40?
Yeah. I was playing D&D with you, your wife, your kid. It was great. It's great, actually. We're fighting a dragon. It's
but my
really
wife,
epic moment. I can't believe
my wife doesn't want to play D&D. I had to stop playing D&D.
No, she loves it. She loves it. I don't know what you're talking about. Is this a thing you're doing right now? Are you trying to be funny?
I'm not the darkest timeline. Oh. Tell me I'm not the darkest timeline.
Well, maybe you should just read the script. And I don't want to think about it anymore.
I'm not the darkest timeline. Attention. Read out loud exactly what is written on this note, or be destroyed and replaced. Welcome to Caffeine and Cantrips, the show where we talk about D&D or else. Hello, I'm Sean number 38, and...
let's see which one I'm Byron number 34.
This week, these two beggarly, dizzy-eyed plebeians, nice, will be talking about themselves and why they love D&D so much. Oh, what is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
Really? All right, guys, welcome. We're going to talk about why we love D&D.
Yes.
I feel like we could talk about this forever because I actually really love D&D.
Agreed.
And that's why I was so sad when I couldn't play D&D because my wife didn't want to play D&D.
Yes. No, this is obviously we've already talked about this before a few times as to, it's the best pastime, or it's one of the best pastimes, or one of the best ways you can spend your time and your efforts. But really, maybe this is a good chance for us to break into the fact that, you're new to us, we're new to this.
Okay.
And talk about, maybe why we love it so much. And if you're new into this hobby, maybe the aspects that we can share about why it's such a good pastime.
Right, or maybe you're thinking about playing D&D, but you're not sure. Maybe this will push you over the edge and let you just take the dive and start playing because it's awesome.
Yes. And hopefully there's no fall damage in your league.
So, but why don't you take the first stab at it? Why? What is it about D&D that you love so much?
Well, it's D&D has always really been a place where you can go and just discover new things, like the color that the like and subscribe button changes to. Well, it might be something different. I don't know. YouTube might be doing something different these days. Going on with a different color. But please, yes, start off your journey with us today. Like and subscribe. We love this so much that we just want to keep sharing with you more and more of that and more of this. So please, we urge you to join us. Most people coming into this for the first time are not going to be subscribed to us, and it'll just really help us bring more people together to share some of our favorite hobbies and pastimes.
Yeah.
Right. And make this inclusive group a little bit bigger every day, just a little bit bigger, and bring more people into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
But so it really does dig into an expression of creativity that I think is unbound. It applies to the most black and white individual who likes the hard crunch of like rules and legality and math and like doing specific styles of world building to that effect, right? What they like.
Right.
They want to know what the exchange rate is for your fantasy mackerel and a pound of iron ore. Like, what's the exchange rate between them? They want to build that economy. They want to figure out what's going on in the world. Or you can just have none of that, right? And you can be as creative and artsy fartsy or whatever you want to call it, right? Like, really as any kind of genre, any kind of theme, any kind of tone,
right? You
can mix and match to create your own unique world and your own unique blend that perfectly suits what you're looking for and whatever you want to
explore, right?
Yeah. And when we see certain aspects of actual plays or stories where we take a juxtaposition of, that old story and we modernize it. Right. Like Enchanted was a beautiful version of this, where we took
the movie. Okay.
Yeah, where we took the old kind of fairy tale Disney classic era, right, and then moved it forward in a musical term to like into nowadays world, and really juxtaposing the real world and the.
Not gonna lie, I really like that movie.
It's super good, and there's a sequel coming out. So we're not sponsored by it, but go check out the movie.
I don't know about it. I've seen the. Anyways, I digress.
Yes,
I digress. I'm probably gonna watch it.
But, yeah, of course. But no, it allows us to really have fun and explore certain ideas and challenge maybe how they've evolved or how they've changed as we go. Because ultimately, I think the types of stories have all been discovered.
Right. That's what they say, right?
I don't know. Yeah. And there's fair input. I don't think we should get into that too much.
No.
But I think there's fair input to say, like, let's say all the types of stories have been found, but we can create their poignancy, or we can create the enjoyment of going through it by playing with the tones and playing with what we're doing, right? Have a fantasy tale in grimdark.
Right. What's the same themes explored in a different manner?
Absolutely.
Thing, right?
And then what does that highlight? How does that change the experience?
Right.
And because I think you can get a lot out of it when you start changing the perspective of how you're viewing the theme that you're trying to explore, the question that you're trying to explore, when you start playing with the environment that it's settled in. It's going to definitely, like stained glass, it's going to tint the light that comes through it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is it about that Unbound creativity that you love so much? Like, why do you find it so compelling?
Well, I really feel that because we can do anything in a way, it's going to cater itself to anyone who wants to try it.
Right.
And this is why one of the things that we talk about so and give so much weight and importance to in session 0 is finding the right stories, finding the right tables for you.
Right.
Is because you want to find something that can match what you're looking for. And there will be a table out there that does that.
Yeah.
Right. Guaranteed. And if there isn't, you can make your own.
You can make your own. Absolutely.
Right. When you're ready to. But the idea that there can be a table that will accommodate any person, any personality type through exploration of the 3 pillars, then we can go forward. Yeah. And we can really push into these. So really, like I'm saying, no new ideas exist out there. There's an argument for it, but there's no new kind of stories out there, but we can really get into how we want to dig into it, from what angle we want to dig into it. Right. And what happens when you wake the sleeping princess who's got that sleeping death curse on her, and she turns into a murder hobo. Right? Like she wants unbridled,
stop killing everything.
Unbridled vengeance against the fey kind that cursed her with it, right? Yeah. And so you can take these old fun tropes, put new twists on them, right? And see where you go and see what happens to really, really heartwarming or stories that we know in our core. Yeah. And see where they go.
It's interesting. You're right. In a lot of ways, I think the stories in general and the ability to explore them in D&D, it mimics sort of real life things that are important to all people. For example, you say all like there's only a certain amount of stories, right? Like the hero's journey is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same sort of high level format. But every time you tell that story, you love it. Like, and all cultures have that story. It's different in the details, and the format's different. Like one is like Harry Potter, hero's journey, right? But that's we love it. But then we have another hero's journey somewhere else that's completely different. Like say the journey of say Thor, right? In the Marvel movie, right? That journey again, hero's journey, but it feels completely different. But it's actually the same story.
Well, you have the same story beats. You have the same story progression, right? You have the same kind of formula where hero meets antagonist or protagonist meets antagonist.
Yeah.
And then there's a battle between them where the hero finds himself worse than, greater than, whatever it's going to be. But then there's an exchange between those two. It's the exchange that drives that. It's the same story beat.
Yeah.
But you can tell it in a unique way, right? In your
and that's the thing, right? Because I think in everyone's life, we can all relate to the hero's journey because that's us. Everyone's journey is different, but we all have a hero's journey, right? And I think that's why it's so compelling. And that's why it's so awesome that you can explore that story in D&D in as many ways as you want to, right? And someone else can be doing this, exploring the hero's journey too, in a completely different way at the same time, and it just sort of doubles and triples and quadruples the pleasure from experiencing those stories,
and doing that in that mathematical, analytical way, doing that in that heavy leaning RP creative mental space,
right?
Both players can be sitting at the same table and deriving a huge amount of pleasure from their time spent.
Yeah.
Even though they're completely different in their wants and needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so I think that's a good place to start, right? In the idea of why anyone could play this, why anyone could love this. Yeah. Right? Given enough time.
Right. Because everyone, all humans, love a good story.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What I love about D&D, I think first and foremost, is it's this perfect meld of like narrative meaning in a story and sort of that freedom of interactivity. I like to play a lot of games and video games for sure. And the problem is in most media that there's this, I think because of the technology that we have, there's this sort of opposition between the narrative and interactive aspects of game. The more, and the opposition is the more narrative you have in there, like the more meaningful narrative you have, the less interactivity you can give the player.
Interesting. Okay.
Right, because, and you can see that in sort of open world games where people just wander off and do whatever. Whereas that would never happen in, say, a book, the pure narrative medium, right? On the other hand, the more interactivity you give someone, the less meaningful narratives you can place on them. Because the more they can do, unless they sort of figure out their own narrative, because the more narrative you force on them, then that means there's less
like
freedom.
Agency? Okay.
Yeah, agency to do what you want, right? So usually there's some kind of balance in them. Now, as technology is sort of regressing, it's that gap is sort of being solved with like AI and other kind of systems, like director type systems.
Yes.
But that just mimics D&D.
So then with that explanation, going back to the top of your thought, what is it about D&D as we play it now that makes it perfect?
Well, the fact is, in D&D, the thing that you don't have in, say, a video game or in movies or books is that you have the narrative that is controlled and provided by your DM. But at the same time, you can do whatever you want as the player, as the person consuming that story. You're a participant, so you can do anything you want, right? And the DM can perfectly sort of react to what you are doing. So you have that freedom, but the DM can also add that narrative and react the narrative and change the narrative to sort of react to what you're doing, right?
Right.
And that's like real life. There's no one, unless you believe in like predestination, something like that, predetermination, or destiny. But if you just go and you just do what you do, you have your freedom to do whatever you want in life, and your narrative just comes out. Right.
Right. Right.
But more so, I think in life it's hard to find the meaning, right? For normal people, because you have that freedom. But in D&D, you've got that sort of narrative, what do you call the someone who's helping you put in that sort of meaningful narrative in the overarching campaign, in the story, in the adventures, and within there you can do whatever you want, which is great. I think that's why it's perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
There's a kind of a shared social contract then between the DM and the players, that there is a story.
Yes.
Right? And that there is perhaps more meaning to what your decisions are being allowed to accomplish a goal, or maybe you're working against yourself, but you know that you're obviously working towards something. Yes. And that goal is probably a lot easier to clearly define.
Well, yeah. I mean, in real life, we can be like, oh, I'm just gonna be lazy this Sunday and just sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens. It's not meaningful. You're like, oh, I just sort of wasted a Sunday. Whereas in D&D, my character's like, oh, you're just gonna stay at the inn all day. But the DM's gonna be like, oh, the mayor charges in and says, hey, you were supposed to find these bandits and you didn't.
Right.
And now they've ransacked the town and I'm gonna punish you.
Yes.
Right. So it forces that sort of action upon your characters. So in that way, the narrative progresses, and there's no, you know what I mean. There's no just
and the DM has the ability to not require pre-programming of a select choice that you can make. Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Whereas in video games, it'd be like, what do you say? Select option A, B, or C.
Right.
Right. Or like, oh, I want to explore down that left alley, but there's an invisible wall there.
Yeah, my favorite.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
And no, so as long as you see it, you can interact with it.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, modern media is starting to get to that point where the worlds are becoming more expansive.
Yeah.
Right. And more detailed. But ultimately you can't do whatever you want in these games. But yeah, you absolutely can in D&D. And that includes kind of, when we say anything, we mean anything, right? Like anything that you want to do. You want to explore what it's like to become a combative chef.
Yep.
You can do it, right? You want to know what it's like to become the seneschal of a province. You can do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so the exploration, once again, of what the system allows you to entangle your character's story with is endless. Is like bigger than you can assume. Yes. But yeah, no, and it's because of that I think, like we spoke about before, that it really rolls into the idea that it's accessible for everyone.
Right.
No matter what background you're coming from, what story you're trying to tell, what you want to explore, which parts of it you want to explore. These become very compelling ways of finding truth.
Yep.
Right. Outside of the story.
Yeah.
Right. Because this is what we did. We had that oral tradition. Right. And this is just a continuation of that.
Yeah. And there's a reason why humans have been telling stories since the beginning, like the beginnings of humankind. Because it's, maybe we've evolved to really care about stories and what happens in stories. In this idea that you can learn and become better by hearing stories, but in the case of D&D, by participating in a story. Like, what better way of learning than instead of just listening, but actually doing?
Well, most famous, I think of well, not most famous, but definitely a famous author out there of our past was Aesop and all of his fables, right? And these these fables are just nicely packed lessons.
Yep.
That we can give an example, an experience, right?
Yep.
And an emotional connection to a set of rules that will ultimately benefit us.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep.
learning from the characters' plights and the characters' expressions.
Mhm.
Right. And I think you're correct when you say it's an exceptional way of pairing the idea of these narratives, of
Yeah.
these lessons,
Mhm.
right? Of the core of the story
Mhm.
being shared in a way that allows a person to engage with it as much or as little as they want to.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The individual who's the wallflower, who's very
Yeah.
shy,
Yeah.
right? And doesn't really like doing voices or doesn't really like, participating in
Mhm.
that way and just likes to be there and play. And I say what my character does. I don't act out what my character does.
Right.
They glean the same or have the chance to
Yep.
glean the same quality of information from the story
Yes.
as the people who are all the way,
Yep.
right? The opposite of the wallflower, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really nice
Mhm.
that you can do that.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of other mediums that you can do it like that or as well
Mhm.
as in D&D. So I think it's just awesome.
Well, the system is designed to be accommodating.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the way that the rules are applied are equally considered to be or attempt to be accommodating so that anyone can play.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And this idea that we kind of have touched on now of just this world being an extension of kind of what humans do naturally anyway,
Mhm.
right? Really sinks its teeth into humanity, I think.
Yeah.
This is why I think there's been this natural progression into games like this.
Yeah.
Because we've done this play before without
Mhm.
rules,
Mhm.
and now we're doing it with some rules,
Yeah.
but it's just codifying kind of an equal playing field. But once that's done, everybody go out there and have fun.
Right. Right. You mean like we've done it before as kids?
As kids, I mean, as adults even, telling our fish stories.
Right.
Right, it was big, and I fought that for 6 hours, and so you passed a couple Constitution checks, did you? Right, like
Or LARPing.
right? So
Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt.
famously,
Awesome.
but there's a truth there that you can see that the core of the kind of D&D system,
Yeah.
right, can be taken out piecemeal and applied into a lot of different medias and a lot of different expressions. And from that, rules light, rules heavy, no rules at all. You can find these expressions and these ways of communicating throughout a lot of human life.
Yes. Yep.
Right? Even the idea of creating a familial pod. Right? Like the early days of finding a tribe, right?
Yeah.
And getting collect together and then knowing and learning what the person is like beside you, right? Finding those struggles, right?
Right.
The struggles of those times.
Yeah.
Finding those struggles, overcoming them together, right? Created a bond between those individuals.
Yeah.
Right. And I think when we start looking at D&D, it really does. I don't think anyone can come out of a successful campaign or adventure or whatever and not like the people next to them more than when they first sat down.
Right. Yeah. If you get through the whole thing together.
Well, if it's a if we said it before, if it's a neutral or positive experience, I think you're going to like the person next to you more.
Yeah.
If it's a negative experience, then we can talk about a negative experience.
Right.
Right. But that's part of discovering what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah.
Right. And it's gonna teach you. Right. You're going to derive lessons from what's happened at the table and what's happening, around the table and whatnot that are going to further inform you as you keep going.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, it's famously, our theme today is why would you love D&D? And so one of the ways, forgive going down perhaps, this idea of thought, whether you buy into this or not, there was an author by the name of Gary Chapman that wrote The 5 Love Languages.
Oh, name dropping.
Well, he wrote it. He was the first one to kind of pioneer this like almost 30 years ago.
Okay.
Right. And so when we're talking about expressions of love.
Yeah.
Right. The 5 languages, and I'm going to try and get these correct.
Okay.
acts of service, words of affirmation,
Okay.
gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Okay. So when we break down those, I mean, quickly, I don't want to go into all of them really, but when we go into it, words of affirmation, right? My character and your character get to like each other. Like, good job stealing that gold from those goblins, right?
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, like, okay, that's from me to you. That's
It's
an
interesting, right? 'Cause
appreciation.
even though it's your character to my character, it still kind of transfers over,
Yes,
right? Because
you get to experience, whether you're experiencing it through the filter of your character or you're experiencing through you into the character, you are receiving that act of admiration.
Because I think no matter how you role play, how deep you get in, it doesn't matter. That character is you. Is a part of
It's
you,
a part of you.
or it's in you, and that's why you can bring it out,
Yes.
right? So when they get complimented, when things happen to them, it really, in some ways, it's happening to you. too,
Transitive properties,
Yeah.
it moves
Yeah.
on to you. Absolutely, it does.
which is so interesting.
It's yes, and ultimately what we're doing when we talk about stories is we're exploring psychology,
Right.
right? And so that's why when we express these 5 languages, right, that you are going to create those bonds, right?
Right.
And you are going to loop it back into creating the bond of experience between people, right? Acts of service, the bard heals you.
Right.
Right? You can just be like, oh, because that's your job. But no, I could have healed the fighter,
Right.
but I healed you instead.
Yeah.
Right? Or my character went out to the market and they just spent a few of their precious copper, because we're starting out with level 1 and we're super poor, right? And they bought a trinket or they bought an extra snack for another character or whatnot, right? That act of service, that gift in this case, right? Giving it across. Coincidentally, the next one, quality time. Not only are you spending time together as characters, but you're spending time together as a group of people.
Yep.
Embodying those characters.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Right? And so
All the levels.
there is levels to this one, right?
Yeah.
Because the quality time that you're spending is time that generally everyone is enjoying.
Yep.
Right? So you're generally in a better mood, and that mood is kind of reflected back onto you like an echo. I express happiness. You see my happiness. You become happier.
Yeah.
You express happiness. I now get to benefit from seeing you being happy while I'm happy. So we ride each other's
I'm happy
emotions.
because you're happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy because you're happy.
Right? And then as we're kind of getting more meta and more psychological with this, physical touch, I think, is an interesting one.
In D&D.
In D&D.
Okay.
And I would argue when I think back
Yeah.
to stories that we've told or games that we've played,
Yep.
I don't remember me playing the game. I remember what happened in the game.
Yeah. For sure.
The memory of the story overrides the memory of me playing the story.
Yeah.
And so the story becomes my memory.
You know what? You're right. I'm here trying to remember all the campaigns and the adventures and all the cool things that happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember rolling the crit.
No.
I remember what happened because of the crit.
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy. That's cool.
So
that's really cool.
In a way, your brain can go in and trick yourself to experiencing the memory as your memory, as opposed to a false or created memory.
Right.
When you get into the theater of the mind and you surrender to that idea, right? It then starts to override you've rolled 1,000 dice, 1,000,000 dice in your time.
Right.
But this dice roll was special. And we're going to remember, like you said, why it was special because of the effect that it had.
That's so interesting, because now that I think about it, even like when you go watch a movie, you don't remember watching the movie.
No, you remember the
what
movie
happens in the movie.
supersedes
Or when
your memory.
or when you read a book, you don't remember reading a book.
No.
You remember what happens in the book.
Yes.
And it's the same with D&D.
And this is
So it's
why
awesome.
this is why there's a lot of times when a book comes out before a movie, people will be disappointed in the casting or the way that they look, because they've got this picture of how that person looks in their mind.
Yeah.
And as they go through the adventure in their mind through the book version, it's hard to copy and paste that to the video, because the video's giving you things that you have already cemented into your memory. So there's a conflict there.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I believe that the 5 acts the 5 love languages right, really do, through transitive property, work in D&D. And I think that they're riding below the surface. You don't understand that you're doing them necessarily. Yeah. You don't know that you're doing them. But if you pause for a moment to analyze what's going on,
right? Yep.
Most of them are there in every session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And you will probably be guilty of committing these in every campaign or every adventure.
What did you do to that goblin? It's just physical touch love language. But he's dead.
He's a little man. Can't handle a lot of love. I sure, yeah. But I mean, more seriously about it.
Yeah.
It is there, and it's an extension of the way that we communicate.
Yeah.
And in an interesting way, it's superseding the way that we communicate from our thought, no longer restricted by our own actions. Because now we can make somebody do something that we may not do.
Yeah.
Even though we still aren't doing it, like you spoke about, right?
Yeah.
You can only create what you know.
Yeah.
Right? Or from what you know. So those characters are entirely you.
Yeah. It's
right? Or
true.
An exploration of your facets.
Yeah. Well, the entirety of the character is you.
Yes.
You're not the entirety of the character.
Correct.
But still, right?
Correct.
Everything that you put in there is you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's in there, and those things build towards loving the pastime as opposed to just playing the pastime.
Right. And well, it sounds like then you also build toward loving the other people at your table too.
You definitely build a camaraderie.
Yeah.
I know in our current table, and I've said this before, so this is no spoilers. I doubt that my main group right now, I doubt that we would be friends if not for D&D. D&D is the thing that brought us together.
Yeah.
And D&D was the sticky sweet stuff in the middle of keeping our little friendship sandwich together.
Yep.
Right? And that's now blossomed into additional personal friendships.
Yeah.
Right? And different games played or different times spent. But the people that we play with are fantastic.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, unfortunately, I believe that I never would have given the time at the beginning to develop these relationships.
Right.
This D&D has become the medium for discovering that. Yeah.
Well, because you discover who someone is by seeing how they play in D&D as well, because the character is them.
Yes.
Right? And it's, in a lot of ways, the truth. An aspect of the true person.
It really is. It really is. How do you view yourself? With humility? With over logical kind of analysis?
Or how you would be if you were arrogant?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
How you'd be if you laughed everything off. Right? How you would be if you were always a procrastinator. How you would be if you were always proactive. Right? We can play different versions of
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's really cool. And no, and that we talk about that transitive aspect of it is great. But something else that has a great transitive aspect is when our viewers like and subscribe to our video.
Yes.
I feel like they're liking and subscribing to me. that transitive aspect of the like and subscribe button.
All to you. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So please do that. Like and subscribe to Byron or me. I don't mind if you just subscribe to him and just like him. I get it anyway. It's a whole circle of transition.
Ooh.
Transitive likes and subscribes here.
I like it. A little whirlpool of love. Just funnel it in.
But moving on.
Okay.
I think something else that's great about D&D is that it's we talk about ROI in past other episodes, but what it means is return on investment.
Yes.
Right. So and D&D has a particularly high return on investment for a pastime.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
in a lot of different ways.
For example, like my investment in a movie is like I don't know, like $20.
$20 for 2 hours.
For maybe 2 hours.
Yeah,
right?
Not
quite 2 hours.
Popcorn,
right?
candy.
So that's like $20 an hour, right? Whereas D&D, I buy the books. One person buys a set of books once, right? And an innumerable number of people can play together.
Yes.
Off of that one initial investment. And you can have as many hours of enjoyment and using the D&D system as you want out of it for that one investment. So it just pays for itself and pays for itself and pays for itself so many times. And the more you play with it, the cheaper that initial investment becomes. That dollar per hour.
Well, and even transferring into the digital age, right? There's a lot of the biggest kind of BTT company-ish now. We'll get into it later, but WotC with D&D Beyond, one person can buy the books digitally and now share that with their table, and their table can exist literally anywhere with the internet.
Yeah.
Right? That world encompassing grab bag of sharing knowledge. So it's not just sliding the PHP over to your friend when they want to go check out something in the next chapter. Yeah. Now we're talking about sharing this knowledge and pastime around the world.
Right. I mean, and it's not only the access to, say, the materials you get. You get access to this giant pool of D&D enthusiasts and players. Right? And I don't know about you guys, but when I meet someone and I find out they like D&D too, automatically it's like, yes, I will. Like, exactly. Levels up, right? I'm like, yes, I like you just a little bit more, and I'm that much more willing to help you do whatever. But like, if you're like, oh, I don't have trouble making friends, just start playing D&D. You guaranteed you'll just develop as many friends as you want.
I mean, speaking
through
of
playing it, right?
As a fun little tangent and kind of maybe a challenge to people who want to put in our comments, I've played D&D for a long time, but I don't know that there's like a universal signal or like hand gesture or like whatever that says like, I play D&D. Yeah. Right? So you can't necessarily like go out in public and just be, like anybody who walks around like this plays D&D and he's like, D&D player, me too, right? Yeah, you're number one, I'm number one. So get in the comment if there is anything like, or if we should start creating something like this, because what a great icebreaker and what a great way of bringing two people,
or like a symbol that you can like wear on a pin,
like
or something,
a pin or a button.
That'd be awesome. Actually,
yes. Right. Just
one of us.
The tenant is confirmed. Yeah. Yes. No. Absolutely. But I apologize for interrupting you. I just thought that would be great if there was a way of recognizing
if there is
fellow
none,
enthusiasts.
We should make one. Right, and start it up. I think it'd be awesome.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. The or else pin coming to us.
D&D or else. But yeah, so you have one set of your source books or whatever, right? Your rule books, and then you can explore as much as you want. You can achieve anything you want, in as many ways as you want, and it's all safe.
Yes.
Unlike, say, other activities that might be more dangerous, like sports or whatever, right? Like, you can do so much for so little, right? And like, you make mistakes, that's fine. There are no really mistakes, right?
Yeah, like we talked about before. Once again, you can limit the scope of your risk mitigation, right? So you want to play from the safety of your own home, you can do that.
Yep.
You want to go out to your local gaming store where there's other people around there to support you. You can do that.
What, you want to cosplay and do it live in a forest somewhere, or like in a cafe somewhere? You can do that.
You want to answer a Craigslist back page ad for D&D at some warehouse? You can do that.
It might be awesome.
It could very well be. Go with a friend or something, right? Like,
right.
Do it correctly. But when we're talking about the return on investment here, right? You can experience all levels of play, right? You can experience all manner of things, once again, for a relatively small input.
Well, and the thing is, all you need really is 2 books. The DMG, Player's Handbook, and you don't need anything else.
Well, there is also the perfectly free starter, an essential set.
Oh yeah,
right. That's online, and that gives you literally everything that you need to play. Everything that you need to play, right? So you don't get all the extra subclasses and all the extra rules and whatnot, but you don't need those. You can discover those. You can look them up online afterwards.
Well, the best parts of D&D, in my opinion, isn't in those books. There's absolutely, they add to the fun, and I love the extra books, but you don't like all that narrative versus interactivity, all the exploration, all that sort of like the social aspect that we've been talking about, all that stuff. You can do with the free starter kit, absolutely. right? So even, I guess if you talk about it that way, it's infinite returns on your investment because you invest nothing.
You can invest nothing and come away with everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then conversely, I know that full packages and whatnot on D&D Beyond, or if you're to go to your local game store or Amazon or whatever to order these products, your initial investment could be very high or feel like it's high, right?
Yeah.
It's easily over $1,000 for all the books.
Yeah.
Right. For all the books and whatnot, easily over 1,000. But you can pare that back, right? So you can say, okay, which books do I only need these 2 books. Great. Yes, you're still looking at like $100, $120 for them. But maybe if you and a friend are getting into it, then you can share those books. Now you're dividing it in half. If you have been voted to become the DM of your friend group, because you've got 5 or 6 people that want to play it. Well, hey, now everybody throws in a 20, right? And then you've got those books and everybody can start playing. And then as you love it, you can invest together.
Right.
Or if it's if $1,000 is no problem, boom, bomb it out. And then you've got that information, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And if that $1,000 was little for you, then it's basically nothing. Once again, that you can go, and like we've said, experience an infinite amount of unique stories.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, coffee these days is like $5. Easy, if not more, if you go to the fancy ones, right?
Yes.
The coffee drinks. Right? And that's what, $5 a day? 3 weeks. And you can buy all the books, $100.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what we're saying, kids. Stop eating those guac sandwiches.
Or you think about it, it's 5 movies. Right?
It's 5 movies. Yeah.
Guacamole. Guac on toast.
Right? Yeah. So you're looking at what the value of your money is. Like you said, okay, $20 an hour to go watch a movie.
Yeah.
It's 5 movies.
Yeah.
If you go to a movie every Friday, that's your thing, right? Postpone for a month and play D&D instead, then you're not out any cash.
And D&D way better than
you're going to get way more
better
hours.
than the best movie I've ever seen.
Yes.
I think so.
And it hurts me a little bit to say that because there's some beautiful movies out there. And comparing like my top 3 to it, my D&D experiences are better.
Yeah.
Than my best movie
because it's you.
Because I'm telling the story.
Yeah, it's you.
Or
and
I'm
your
a part
friends,
of that story.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if I could be like, look at us, and we brought the one ring to Mount Doom, and like if that was us in the movie, arguably then maybe I like it as much. Right? But you can't have that in a movie. You can only have that in D&D.
Yeah.
Or a role-playing game.
And that's because it's a cooperative experience.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right. And it's true. You can play D&D solo.
Yes.
Right.
There are ways of doing it. There absolutely are ways of doing it.
But it's way better in a group. And it's really designed to be played in a group. Right. And I don't know, personally, I love co-op games. I love co-op experiences. Somehow you and I, we're always competing against each other. That's who we are.
There's co-op, and then there's co-op extreme edition.
Yeah. I'm better at co-op than you are. But no, I love co-op games and co-op experiences. And again, I think it's just human nature. We evolved to be cooperative, or else we would have got eaten by all the dinosaurs or tigers, I guess, maybe not dinosaurs. But again, fun activities are always better when when they can be done with other people.
Yes. There is something about sharing an experience. If it's a negative experience, if it's a positive experience, there's something about sharing that experience that makes it better when it's with others.
Yeah, there's that. So I don't know what it is, but it's that energy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like if you go to a concert, there's an energy in that concert that is missing when you're just listening to it on your headphones on the bus. It's still good, but it's somehow just different. It's buzzing, right? And just like, say, like it's fun to go to a concert together. It's another level altogether to be in the band playing together.
Yes.
Right? Because you're not just experiencing something together. You're actively cooperating and doing and producing something that's just so epic. that you could never have done by yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And that feeling is so electric. It's so electric.
And there are levels to that, right? There are levels to just enjoying it. You know, it's your own garage band, right?
Yep.
Like it's just you guys. Garage. Well,
Car hold.
yes, it's you're doing it for yourself, and that brings a level of enjoyment. You're doing it for yourself with others.
Yeah.
Right. So then that ratchets it up a few notches in experience and in enjoyment. And then when you shift, like we've shifted now to kind of sharing our experiences and bringing them out and talking about this stuff, there adds another wave of enjoyment to it.
Yeah.
Right. As you get more reactions and more people experiencing what you're doing. And just the fact that the people that you're sharing it with, that group is becoming bigger. Right. And the bigger the group, the crazier it gets.
Yep.
Right. You know, an intimate performance, like you said, a band, an intimate performance at a bar with like 100 people, really cool.
Yeah.
But it's totally different to like a stadium.
Yeah.
You've got like 50, 60, 70, 100,000 people. Some of these stadiums are massive. But you've got that many people all invested in doing the same thing together have now become a group.
Well, it's like those concerts where the singer like points a microphone to the crowd and the crowd sings the song.
Music, yes.
And it's like, that's so epic. For some reason, it's so compelling.
Well, now you're part of the band.
Well, you're part of the experience. Like I'm doing it too. Right? And D&D is so good for that. Like aside from D&D, maybe playing like a MMORPG might come close. Like raiding together or whatever. But,
no, I think like the Super Bowl comes close, right? Like you're one of the teams on the field playing for the championship ring or whatever. Right? Like that,
right.
That's where I think it comes close.
But barring being like the best physical like specimen of humanity and coming together and playing sports.
No, this is accessible to everyone.
Anyone.
Yes.
Anyone can do this. Like the ROI, right? It's so cheap. Anyone can do it, right? And the more you put into it, the more you do.
Oh, by far.
Yep, right? So I love it that it's cooperative at that level.
Yes.
Right? And there's not a lot of things, I think, in the world that is so accessible that can give you that same feeling of just like when someone is about to die and you need to roll that nat 20 to save them. And you're like, I'm never going to roll a nat 20. It never, and then it does.
Yes.
He was like, or maybe you fail and someone's like, no, I'm going to do something, give you advantage. And then you roll it and you're like, like the whole table loses it when stuff like that happens. Like when you watch it happen online and other, like you lose it.
Yes.
Right. It's just so epic. And like, it's so much better than even just like, oh, I'm just going to play Mario by myself.
That's true.
Right. Or even I'm going to roleplay by myself. I mean, it's fun. It's not the same. It's just not the same.
Well, and when we take all of that, and like you said, for this kind of part of the conversation, with it being the cooperative experience and a non-competitive environment, right? Any competition you want, you have to add into the game. Who did the most damage? Who did the most healing? Who ran the farthest? Who whatever. There's competitive aspects that you can put in the game, but ultimately it's not. Ultimately, this is a genuine cooperative experience that even the creators of the game themselves have said is not designed to be player versus player.
Right.
We don't balance our classes. We don't make the mechanics to be a competitive game. You have to add that specifically by yourself.
Well, and I think even if you add like player versus player or some sort of competitive aspect into D&D, in the end, it's still a cooperative thing because you have to cooperate in that PvP, because in the end you're doing it for fun, right? It's to make more fun for everyone at the table. So even the competitiveness is cooperative. It's like our relationship, right? In our cooperation, we still compete because we think it's fun.
Points involved,
any sort of points involved,
yes.
Right? Like we're cooperating to heal the raid party. I healed more than you did.
Yeah. There's always, and whatever that is, whatever additional fun we derive from that, that experience, right? It's still, the goal was to heal the raid, right? Who did it better? Well, the raid survived and had fun. So now this is just like a little in-game between us, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't actually affect us other than for you and I to put more in.
Yep. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We're paying more attention. We're hyper aware of everything that's going on, right? Because you're trying to maximize that experience for yourself.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that is, you're trying to be so engaged, more engaged than the other to catch those little slips, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a whole table that's that engaged in what's going on, you're going to have a fantastic experience.
You know what, though? I have to confess that even though it's cooperative, absolutely cooperative, and I like to play cooperatively in D&D, I compete with all the other players in the table, not by like damage, but like by how compelling a compelling RP I can do, like how many fun things I can do through RP and in the story, and like I absolutely compete. I'm like I always want to create the most fun, more fun than any other person on the table.
Right.
That's, I don't know. It's an aspect of me, I guess.
Well, and this leads us all the way back up to the top when we said this game is for everyone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's your unique character. Maybe it's not a unique character. Maybe there's lots of you that like to do this, like to make your games better, right? But you approach the table with this particular paradigm or this particular perspective, right? That generates additional enjoyment for you.
Yeah.
And it's high octane, pure, unadulterated, family friendly fun. Yeah. Right? Because it's just making everyone else's experience a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And whether they know that you're trying to do that or not, you get the first person generation of that fun, as well as you get third party generation of that fun, because then you get to witness them having a better time. Because now they're enjoying the game more.
Yeah.
Right. So your efforts
it makes me feel so good too.
There you go.
Not only like being like, I did like so many things that made so much fun in today's session, but seeing the actual enjoyment from the other players. Yes. Right. Just like, right.
And from the other side of the table, in this case, and in our most recent stint, right, watching this happen, right, and then in our kind of after session wind downs, you saying like, "Hey guys, that story that I told from my character, I didn't know that was going to happen. I was just RPing in the moment, and I wanted to create this mystique about my character in this moment and just play off of what was happening. And so I reacted, I leaned in, and then the character just told a story.
Yeah.
I was along for the ride too. It just kind of like the words just filled my mind and it just came out and I got to experience it. And that was pretty cool, right?
I just did it because I thought the other players would enjoy it.
Yes.
Right?
And generally the answer is yes, they would.
Yeah.
And yes, they did.
Yeah.
Sure, yes, they did. Yeah. And I mean, that really kind of pulls us through when we're talking about fun.
Yep.
Right? I think D&D, going a little conceptual again. I know I'm conceptual with the 5 languages.
I love it.
But going a little conceptual again, D&D expresses the 3 types of fun.
Okay.
If you're not aware,
you gotta tell me
there's 3 types of fun, and we'll break it down. So fun type 1 is you're doing something that you think you'll love and you're enjoying it. That's fun type 1, right? Okay. So you go to a movie and you think the movie's going to be good and the movie was good. You're excited to go to D&D, you go to D&D and D&D good.
Yeah.
Right? That's fun type 1.
Right.
Fun type 2 is it is not fun in the moment. But later when you think back on it, you're like, that was really good. That was really good.
Yeah.
Right?
But
so
okay.
that session that you could not roll above a 4.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden you look back on it and you're like, that was a really challenging, fun session because I had to engage and think and RP and be creative and really use my brain and get in there, right? In order to make things happen because the dice that day, the impartial kind of math clack rocks decided
know how impartial it actually is.
You talk about fate and destiny, and these things certainly have a mind of their own. When an epic needs to be when a moment needs to be epic and like turned up to max, they do that. They absolutely do that. But so going back to type 2 fun, that's we're climbing the mountain and it's cold and it's miserable and whatever. But then after you get back down to base camp, you're like, that was amazing. right?
Yeah.
And that's more of the misery shared moment that you and your climbing partner, right? You go, oh, do you remember the time that and it generates a story.
Yep.
Right? That type 2 fun generates a story that you can share with people.
Right.
That becomes really emotionally compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Like I think back and I've got a bunch of memories like that. I'm like, in the moment, I was just stressed out and just trying to get through it. And then afterwards, I wish I could do that again.
Yeah, and arguably it could be some of the best times of your life.
Yeah, even though in the moment you're like, I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And this sucks.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Which leads us to type 3 fun, which is you think you're going to enjoy it, you don't, and later on you look back on it and you really didn't enjoy it. And those generate a lot of great stories as well.
Wait a minute. So you think you're going to enjoy it.
You're excited, you think you're going to enjoy it,
you don't. You don't enjoy it.
You don't enjoy it, and when you look back on it, you still don't enjoy it. It hasn't like flipped in your mind to be
okay.
But it generates great stories. Like, oh, the one time we went out to the bar, there's so many stories that start off like this. We thought we were gonna have a great time, but then we got drunk, we got lost in the taxi, and then we drove around for half an hour, and then the bouncer kicked us out of the club. So then we ended up wandering around. It was really just like a night wasted. Right. But there's this beautiful story that you can tell about what's happened there.
All right, so you enjoy the story.
You enjoy the story, but you don't enjoy the experience or the like being present in the experience.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that breaks down into like the 3 types of fun, and I think D&D has those. You can have fun doing it. You can be in a crappy session, or you can be in a bad session or whatnot, and you can look back and think, this could be a really important character building moment. Or that's when I knew I really loved D&D because I hated sitting at that table. Right. But I still had fun. Looking back on that group of goobers, man, I would never play with them again, but I'm so happy that I did because I learned so much from the experience.
Right.
And then, of course, we get into the type 3 where I was like, I answered this looking for group ad and blah, blah. I went down for, Wednesday night game night at my LG at my local game store. And it was bad. It was just bad. I'm never doing that again. I'm always going to vet people before I go meet them or what.
Right.
And we learn that lesson from it. I think D&D really expresses across the 3 types of fun. And hopefully you're having more type 1.
Well, even it's funny. You talk about that at the level of players, but at the level of characters, you also have
absolutely
that 1, 2, and 3. Oh, it's a little bit better when it's on the characters.
When it's on the characters end.
Like.
Yeah. So you're and this dichotomy of fun types. My character is in fun type 3. I am in fun type 1.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And you're like, I love this. They're so miserable, right? You're having a Schadenfreude moment, right?
Yeah.
And that can happen. That dissociation of you and what is happening can totally exist.
Yeah. It's so weird, but it's awesome.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yes. And I think it makes it better than when you're looking back at sessions and you don't agree with the emotional state of your character, or you're not that you agree it, but you're not synonymous with it.
Right. Yeah. My character hates the party, thinks you're idiots.
Yeah.
But I think this is great.
Right. Or I couldn't sleep last night because I was sick and I was coughing and throwing up and whatnot. I still went to D&D even though I felt like crap.
Yeah.
It was a great session. My character had an awesome time. It was a great session. I feel terrible. That's going to go down in the books as one of my more pleasurable episodes.
Yeah.
Right. That can happen too. So working on the levels of you and and everybody else around the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And experiencing those. I think that's a really interesting thing that this medium accomplishes that an MMO doesn't.
Right. I don't know if I can't think of any other medium that does the same sort of thing as well. Like I was like, maybe improv games, but no, not quite. Or like maybe a play. No, like I can't think of anything that's like role playing D&D, right? I mean, like other RP systems, yes, right. But for our purposes, D&D,
yes, yeah,
right? It's so unique. Right?
Well, and that talks about once again when we start talking about how the story is told. D&D can be live play. D&D can be viewed upon, right? D&D can be written in a post-by-post format online, right? D&D can be LARPed, right? D&D can be theater of the mind. D&D can be all maps. D&D can be a cookie cutter's dream, right? Of making all the different forms that you can derive from it. That really, it makes me question is there a reason not
Play D&D.
to play D&D? I mean, while you're playing D&D, you're working on, like, if we take D&D as the thing, as the activity, and we start talking about the benefits, right? You're getting out, you're increasing your social IQ, right? And how to deal with people, how to talk, how to communicate. You're getting out, you have to be on time, you have to be presentable, you have to do all of these things to make sure that you're acceptable to the group, right? You're learning creative thinking, you're learning creative analysis, problem solving. You're learning teamwork, right? You're learning all of these really important ideas. Math. Quick fire math. It's relatively simple math, yes, but it can become more complicated, right? And the fact that you have to do it and you have to do it on the fly. And it's always different, it's always changing, and everyone's always in the moment. It's going to help those like quick knee-jerk math skills, right? Planning out what you want to do, right? There's forethought in there. There's like all of these things are being built and all these skills are being built and like strengthened without thinking that you're doing it, right? It's your daily Sudoku, effectively, right? But in D&D, it's so much more complex.
Yes.
Like, is there a reason not to, really? Unless you just don't want to?
Or unless, like, your wife is, getting in the way. She doesn't want you to.
Not in my universe.
But if you can play D&D.
If you can play D&D.
I think you should play D&D.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, if you have no time.
Right. Or real life comes first, right? It's hard to schedule.
Right. Like if you're skipping your therapy sessions, all right, because to play, like, don't. Right. If you're skipping, like, eating, if you're skipping, like, making, like, going to work so you can have money to live. Like,
sure.
Right.
Yes.
But if you can play D&D, if you don't have a lot of time, you don't have to put in a lot of time.
No.
Right? No. And you still can get a lot out of it.
Yeah. And like we said, that's a one shot. Or that's, hey, I'm only good for 3 months of play once a week or once every other week. What can we get done in 6 sessions?
Or an hour a day?
Right. Or,
like, who doesn't have an hour a day? Well, some people don't have an hour a day, I guess.
Yeah.
But
there's that mindset, right? Like if you have 20 minutes to meditate, meditate for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you don't have 20 minutes to meditate for an hour.
Right.
Right. Like making the time and prioritization, we understand life comes first. And that's why talking about scheduling, and that's why talking about, what's allowable, when we're going to counsel is good.
Well, and these days, there's so many ways to play D&D.
Yes.
That you almost have no excuse.
Yes.
Like if you want to play D&D, just.
I only have my hour between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Well, I'm going to play post by post.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably the most fragile version of D&D, but I'm going to play post by post because then I can spend an hour reading, catching up, writing out a post. Great. Perfect. Done. I've done my one post for the day. Fire it off, or one post 3 times a week, whatever your schedule is. Yeah, and you're still playing D&D.
Yeah,
you're still getting that creative input, that creative outflow, right? That really satisfies something that I think a lot of people overlook in their life is the arts, right? And just engaging in that aspect, that entire half hemisphere. I don't know if it's the right or the left, but one side of your brain is kind of. Got it right. is semi-formally dedicated to being a more creative center.
Yeah.
So, like use it, strengthen it, make yourself better.
I think a lot of people get stuck on like, it feels kind of nerdy or whatever, but it
does, and then it gets better.
It does, and then you don't care when you start it. Right?
Yeah,
and it's so worth it. I think in a lot of ways as worth it as going to the gym, getting exercise or whatever. Maybe not the gym, but getting exercise. Like it's
your brain's a muscle, right? Like
absolutely, right? And unlike physical activity, you can do this for your whole life. You can do this if you're laid up in bed, you can do whenever, right? So like you said, it helps you in so many different ways.
Yes.
Right. I want to explore a certain idea. You can. I can't explore it anywhere else.
No.
To the same level as you can in D&D.
Yes.
Right. So
yeah.
Like, I don't know, even darker stuff. Right. Or stuff that you're highly embarrassing. You can do it. Right? So
you, once again, like we said, you're safe to do it, right? Because you found a group of people who are also interested and respect your opinion. Respect your emotions while you're doing this. But yeah, there's things that you can do in a game, cast a spell, right? Where we start off with,
Right.
I can do a cantrip. Well, then you're miles ahead of real life.
Right. Yeah.
It allows you to express these things in a healthy, safe way for you and everybody around.
I mean, and you're right. It's fun for sure, and that would be enough, I think. But the great thing about D&D is that it's so much more. By playing D&D, I think you can become a more well-rounded person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the skills that you develop while playing D&D, while in character and out of character, will actually make your life better.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, math, problem solving, social skills.
Mm-hmm. There is now
communication.
I
skills,
know there's kind of boot camps, corporate boot camps, where they include D&D.
Oh, teamwork,
like a simplified version of D&D just for the office people to go in.
Hilarious.
As an experiment, instead of how do you get across the river? You only have 2 planks, and you gotta blah blah. Right? Like no, you guys need to figure out how to talk to the townspeople. How to
You're a skeleton. The Lich pulls you into his office and says, and asks you the question. So, how do you think you performed that last meeting?
Well, no bones about it. I think it speaks for itself. Yeah, you can do anything with it, right?
And they're definitely liches.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. But yeah, okay, so with all of this kind of established, I also think that moving forward, D&D is going to be the benchmark for a lot of games. A lot of games are going to look like.
You think it's going to get to that point? Because I know D&D is going to be getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, no, I think
especially lately,
the next like true World of Warcraft or whatever like hype game you want to call it, the next one of those games that's going to dominate so completely, I bet is going to be like an AR VR augmentation.
I've been saying that for so long,
but it's true. We're starting to get to the point where the technology is getting exceptional.
Yeah,
right, and simultaneously, depending on what level you're getting to, is becoming miniaturized. So I don't need a room-sized computer to run this game anymore.
Yeah,
right. I need my Oculus or I need my Quest or whatever it is. My VR headset. Boom! I got my little gloves. Away we go. Right. I don't need the haptic vest. I don't need all the other. I don't need the motion tracking. I don't need the green screens to broadcast it out. But now I can literally jump into a game, and I can experience that, even if it's just an augmented reality layover, and there is a DM there and controlling some stuff. Yeah, it's coming, and I
for sure,
it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be scary how addictive I bet it's gonna be for the masses.
Yeah. Well, like I said, play D&D when you can. Don't sacrifice health and friends and actually
yes. Yeah, you're gonna get those stories of like the Hong Kong game dens, right, where people spend just 5 days and they just die. Yeah, and their credit card finally runs out, so somebody notices. Right, that's unfortunately. But it's so good that it can interact. So as a model, I think it will be used going forward to kind of derive what is that experience that people are looking for. How do we get to that perfect experience, and how do we translate it? It's going to be.
Well, it's exciting so it's all the more reason to jump into D&D now. Yeah. Right. So when it becomes even bigger, you're there, or you've been there for the forefront for the whole time, right? Yeah. And you're prepared. So it's actually thinking about it. It's very exciting. I wanted to be here now. Right. Now, right? Yeah. Oh, great. Oh, geez.
Hey, we got our noise.
Yeah. That means we can finally.
I get to go back to my game and finish dealing damage to your wife.
Can we not talk about that?
D&D's
It is fun. I wish I could play it more.
But let us know. I think what's our question of the day? This our question of the week.
Oh, what do you love about D&D? Yeah, that's what I want to know, because we talked about it for like an hour here. Yeah, well, why we love it. I want to know why you guys love it, because I'm sure you guys love it for different reasons. Because I approach D&D with a certain sort of motivation, a certain set of things I really enjoy about D&D, but I'm sure that there are people out there that you enjoy D&D for completely different reasons. And I'm actually interested into finding out what that is.
Yeah, and if not your favorite or the thing that you love about D&D is the system, tell us about your favorite character or your favorite campaign or your favorite
thing that happened.
That experience that you happened that you shared with the group, or you accomplished in spite of what the group said you could do, or whatever it was. Tell us about that moment that you fell in love.
Oh, you know what I want to know? I want to know exactly that. Is what the moment that you knew that you loved D&D? Like, what happened in that moment? That you were like, oh, geez, this is awesome. I'll do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Any off the top of your head that you've got?
Oh,
okay. While you're thinking, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So we just quickly, right? We had both finally had the chance to be players, as I'm a forever DM-esque type.
Yeah.
And in approaching a castle that we needed to gain access to, he knows immediately. In approaching it in second edition, Sean was playing a psionic. And so as we came up to the gate guard who was up on the parapet wall, a few rolls and a mind domination turned this unruly, really surly, rude gatekeeper who was just set on sending us away into finding a VIP guest list that was like scrawled on some like toilet paper or something, and finding that our PC names were on the VIP guest list, and he was confused as all get out, but he opened the gate for us and let us in, and we avoided, much to the DM's chagrin at this point, we avoided all of the encounters, all of the sneaking around, everything, as the gatekeeper took us, saying like, oh no, this is the Lord's very important people.
They're on the guest list.
They're on the guest list. Like, don't. And he took us right to the Lord's chamber, and in which a hilarious battle ensued because we hadn't used up all of our resources fighting our way to the Lord. And so that final kind of big boss encounter was just a farcical encounter at that point. It went off the rails hard because the DM, I think, was a bit on the back foot, but it was more about just the experience of, we're on the guest list. There's no guest list. There's a guest list.
Yeah. I think my favorite moment is when we're just DMing for each other.
Yes.
Because the rest of the group got busy and they.
Yes.
And our two characters went to an inn, and one of us just said, I hope this is not the place that serves dog. And then that became a thing. Like, we just ran with it. From that one little whimsical comment, now these two characters are like, oh, there's a place that we went to that served dog.
Yes.
And we hate it.
Yes.
And now the two characters always check if the restaurants serve dog.
Yes.
And so, for meat.
Yeah.
Right. And
it was an off the cuff creation, right? That we just both leaned in on and said, yes, that means that there was a point in our history where we had dog, and we're never doing that again.
Right. And the fact that so much value and fun came out of nothing was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what if you could do this all the time?
Yeah.
And you can in D&D.
Yes, you can.
And that was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'll do this. I want to do this forever if I can.
Awesome. Big smile on my face.
Yeah, right? Because you remember.
Yeah. But anyway, yes. So tell us about yours. And, hopefully we're going to love reading them.
Yes.
I know I'm going to love reading them. And then maybe we can feature some.
Oh, yeah.
Really special.
Yeah, for sure. So another one of my favorite moments in D&D is when you out there watching, like and subscribe to this video or podcast.
Yes.
It's probably one of my top moments in D&D.
It is. It's really awesome for us to get out and express these things to you, and we really enjoy it. We really do enjoy it. This is the next level, next iteration. It's our next high. Next D&D high. So
give me more.
Please join us in this journey. We'll be more than happy to have you along.
Absolutely. And as always, this has been Caffeine and Cantrips. I'm Sean.
And I'm Byron. And we hope you come and join us the next time.
Or else.
Cool.
What the fuck?
No. Through exploration of the three pillars, then we can go forward.
Yeah.
And we can really push into these.
Jeez. Can we kill it?
Yeah.
Well, what if it's another version of like you or me?
Hello.
I love D&D
I love D&D so much.